This is Ian.
That's the greatest door opening on the
Yes, you're sliding out this side, Penny. Congratulations, mate. Good morning. Good.
Oh, gee, this is too much. Wow. It's like welcome home again, isn't it?
Morning,
How could you not really feel good on a day like this? It's quite beautiful.
Thank you very much. Oh, it's beautiful.
How are you?
Fiona. Tanya's the oldest. And Lisa's, we brought to us. Right.
Now I know how worldly feels. Get up this morning.
This is their old gear. Didn't have it. Would you like to get a family shot? What about a curtsy? You were going to do it as well. Sorry.
I thought you were going to, Chris.
Oh, take it again. I wasn't looking. Good. Good. Thanks so much. Thanks. Let's be honest. Really want to. Yeah. Right. You've met my... What do you want? Kids, orange? Scones? Yes. But it's almost like you said. You get all the credit and Penny does all the work.
Well, we said that last time.
Oh, you want to?
That's why we got all the money.
Yeah, that's right. That was a little different. Do nothing.
One more sugar in
Oh, good. Well, you're going to eat like a sugar over there? No, just a
Oh, couldn't figure out what to wear. Was it sort of, figured out when to wear?
Matter of fact, I suppose you can't wait to pay more.
That's the way it goes.
Good to see.
People up there look up there, and of course accounting, I know you never wanted to know about that, but it just so happens so smooth, everything just, all spot on. Never really get
That's right. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
There is a new program coming in.
Come up and have a look at that.
Have or what?
Well, it helps us. We couldn't operate it out.
It's coming in, isn't it? Yeah, that's true. I remember the day with the old calculator.
Yeah. The limit is 9,900. and then we'll go into the other area after that.
Which other area? You meant to talk about all the...
Yes.
Duck your head when it hits the roof.
First 9 legs, she guarantees that you'll... I mean, where's Rick's going to lunch yet. No more guys. It costs too much money. Costs $1,000 a go.
Did you enjoy it? Enjoy it? Good. You have a certain level.
Yeah, have a certain level. Just to make sure that everything is right.
What's that up? That's extra offices.
We're going up there now. She's still been here for 10 years. She again joined when she was 12. Right, Pat, you better tell us what you do here.
Well, we have all the mail that comes into Amway, so we distribute everything to internally, as well as all the things that go out to the direct distributors. You have your envelope every week, which is one of the 500 things.
That's good. Keep that up.
Better introduce you.
This is Gladys,
Gladys.
Frida, and Lorraine.
This is the most important, the communication. I can remember when one person did all everything. And it still works.
That was Pat, too.
And Penny.
Sometimes known as Liz, because we've got two Anns. Liz over the phone. Carol, Penny and Peter, and that's Kay down the end there. Kay's on what we call the first phone, which is usually the busy line. Lois in the other corner.
Hello, Lois.
Krista. And Tracy.
Tracy.
Right. I think
You're doing a great job there.
we've got a call just coming in here now, so...
Then we'd like us to go to full side over to the whether you have any changes to this, if you ever wanted to confirm any not code. So, 709 to be issued with vouchers. 709 and also any item may appear wrong. So, what may So, 505. Work and can't
Well,
normally
it's cheaper by night anyway.
After 6 o'clock, the telephone rates drop down by 50%, which is a real advantage.
That's right.
We also have this facility available now south through.
Oh, Penny, none of us have ever been able to work it out.
It's almost like why don't distributors get customers type question. Yeah, well, there's a few challenges ahead of us, yeah. We'll look at last time. Okay, good.
Thanks very much for your help there.
Beautiful accent.
Oh.
Yes, this is one of my favourites of yours.
You what?
I was just going to say.
This is usually what I do, is I dig the hole and Penny puts the tree in.
Oh, not as many, quite as many bugs. Yeah, they're all the same. We're going to build a whole big one.
I'll get out of the way.
Wow. What do I do?
Isn't that terrific?
First shot.
Keep pushing. Want me to fill it in or what?
Why not? We've got a couple of hundred more trees, actually, Peter.
Listen, if I keep doing a good job, I might take his job. I can use a shovel like I use a broom. The idea is to teach your kids early.
See you later. We'll be full of polyanders shortly too for the garden competition. They have to come out. They don't take the prize. They're going to come out next week.
Hello, what's your name? Now, it starts with Q.
That's fine. Okay.
See you, mate.
Oh.
So we're getting that flag out there too, mate. It's flying a bit.
Oh, I can't see that high. I'm just getting the banner.
You can add that to your flagpole. You'll have to get a flagpole to go for the new gates.
That's fantastic.
Nobody said cheese.
Tanya, don't be silly. Listen. Don't be silly.
Other side. Diana?
It just stops, Dale. I know.
Mine's just right.
I think
All right?
the seeds are starting, so it's about a foot on the grass. And it's finishing off about there.
Never had so much.
Okay, in front of this one. There's a banner here.
Oh, yes. Jay. Take this book.
Take his book.
You take one.
Take
Jay?
his book, Mum. Take his book. Take his book.
This one. Okay. And somebody said this one. Oh.
Near the children, I think.
Just too much. Sleeves last night for them.
Penny and Peter over here, please. And
Careful,
up this end, I think you'll be over there, Troy.
Sue, you're on here.
Troy's here.
Here we are, Fiona.
Troy's
You'll
here.
be right.
Oh, look. Oh, no, next to him
How about you do it this time?
Say what you'd like.
After me and everyone's at the table.
Oh. I was just saying, what a beautiful decoration.
Who's that for today?
I think they were close. Look at that.
John, you going to first round? Yes.
If I stopped talking, I wonder what would happen.
Yeah. This is probably going backwards, yeah.
Great.
He's got their drinks ready.
Thank
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
Right, well, let's start. If that's, Good, this is Peter, Penny Javelin and their family. Would you like to give them a warm Amway welcome? Slight resemblance between the yellow posters and this couple, and this is Penny. She looks a lot prettier than the yellow posters, and that's Penny and their family, Troy, Lisa, Fiona, and I've forgotten the, oh, Tanya! She's been so quiet today that we haven't noticed her. You know how we all feel about Peter and Penny, and I don't have to tell you that again. They've been the most superb distributors, I don't think, and I'm yet to hear a negative word from either of them, and that's in 10 years that I've known them. They are superb, as I've said, distributors, probably the distributors that we love more than any other distributor in the field, and we'd like them to spend 3 or 4 hours with you this afternoon, just telling you how they feel about the business. Thanks, Peter and Penny.
Well, thank you for your lovely welcome. We've really had a superb day here today. I can't explain to you the thrill we've all got out of being here. It's the first time our family have been together in Sydney, because we're originally from Adelaide. We've moved to Queensland a couple of years ago, and in Sydney either Peter or myself or both, or maybe 1 or 2 of the children have only ever been here, but certainly not all of us together. And it's very important for us today to try and get across to our family just what the business means to us. And I'm sure the children, I'm certain that they've all been very enlightened today. They've loved meeting everyone and having a look around the complex. And let's face it, one day they're going to take over the business from us. So that it's been a very important day for them too. But we've been absolutely thrilled, and I really know what Princess Diana felt like last week on her royal tour, because that's exactly how I felt today. Amway, it's been incredible, you know, the way they've gone out of their way to make us feel at home, and just given us probably more than we deserve, I think. But it's a unique company, and Peter and I have been in the business for now 11 years. He keeps saying 10, but it's really 11 now. It just seems like yesterday that we joined. But we've never ever wanted to look at any other business, because we were lucky to have been in about 10 different businesses before Amway. And it has been an advantage because we've known of the ups and downs and the pitfalls in other businesses. And so we've gone through all of that, so that when we got into Amway and we knew the benefits, and we knew that we were with a company that, well, excellence is their motto, and they've certainly, and you all have, backed us up so much. And I don't know you all by name, but really we would sincerely like to thank every one of you, because we know that certainly we could never have achieved anything if it wasn't for the backup that everyone has given us. And briefly, we got into the business because, well, I anyway wanted some sort of security, and in all of the other businesses Peter was involved in, it relied on his efforts. There was never a sort of a team effort involved. I was never able to be a sales lady and be involved in his previous businesses. So when Amway came along, I realised that this was something I could do. And of course, with 4 children, I wanted in my own way to be able to still look after them, and yet still be able to help Peter. And from the very beginning, I always had a goal for the children, for their education, and I always dreamt of having the best education for them. And I knew that through Amway, that was my goal. If I could help and earn enough money out of the business, it could send them to private schools. And so now all 4 of them have gone to private schools, and I hoped benefited from that. But in 1976, Amway gave us a lovely trip to America. I think about a month or two before they'd said the first double diamonds in the business they would send to United States of America, and we were lucky enough to be the first in Australia to achieve that. And so we were very fortunate in 1976 to be able to go over and look at Ada, Michigan, and tour over the plant there. And and go on the yacht, the Enterprise. We were the first Australians on that, and we cruised to the Bahamas, and it was just out of this world. I remember in 1976, I think we went over Girraween, wasn't it? When Amway was in Girraween, we came in before Silverwater days, but we were so impressed in those days by the staff and by the, we thought the huge area. It was a few thousand square feet, I think, and 6 pallets high. And we remember being very impressed in those years by, at that time, by the, what we thought was a huge amount of product. And that gave us a confidence, in fact, to go on and build the business, because we knew we had the total backup of the staff behind us. And let's face it, in any business, unless the people are behind the scenes, as it were, and you know, put in the effort and got us our stock on time, and well, we knew that was all happening in Amway, so that gave us the confidence to be able to go ahead and really build the business. So that's what we want to say today. We want to just say a big thank you to each and every one of you, because we really do appreciate you. And I know our distributors have often said that you know, they've been very very taken with the courtesy every time they've rung and made a query, every time they've wanted product, and anything at all. They've been most impressed with the staff attitude and backup and help. And so I know Peter's got a whole heap of things he wants to say to you, so I won't take up any more time, but I just wanted you to know that we really do appreciate each and every one of you very, very much. Thank you.
An interesting thing came up over discussion at lunch, and I said, you know, when we first started, we had a 72 Falcon. This was in 1972. I was an 8th grade dropout who never accepted, as they say, the loser label, because no one said to me that you needed an education to succeed. Because if they had have said that, then I would have definitely probably been a failure all of my life. And I went on from 14 years of age to have to work for myself, because no one would give me a job. And you name it, even before we went into the businesses that Penny talks about, I'd had the degree of the School of Hard Knocks by the time I was about 18, because I'd had a paper round and a chemist round, and I was a professional cyclist and an amateur cyclist first, then professional, and I did about 8 years, 100 miles a day to get somewhere in that field, to get some recognition. And in actual fact, I often look back at the days of sport, and I worked and slaved at that, and eat and slept with the bike, and I used to polish the ball bearings on a Friday night. And somebody said, if you walk around with them in your pocket and rub them together and then put them back together before the race, you'll do better. So, you know, once I heard that, I did that, and everyone used to say, what are you doing? Anyway, the interesting thing was that anything to gain that extra inch or that extra mile, you would do it, you see. And often suggestion, if the world champion was doing this is what you tried to do. You copied. You tried to emulate other people's success. And, you know, they don't teach you at school to do those things. We learn about them, but often I looked out the window and I was dreaming when the teacher was trying to teach me something. I wasn't ready for what he wanted to teach me. I was looking a mile ahead or 10 mile ahead, and he didn't know that. Consequently, I didn't get any degrees. On the wall that we have of our training centre on the Gold Coast, we have a degree I'm very proud of, and it's the degree of the Institute of Management. And on the wall it says Penny Javelin may use the words AIM after his name. Penny Javelin AIM, and that stands for Australian Institute of Management. Now, how we got that, we used to use the institute in Adelaide more times than anyone else, about 5 nights a week. An Amway distributorship meeting was going on, and Saturdays we had success seminars. And so they rang us up and said, Peter, we want you to become a member. And I said, well, that's great. And they said, we'll send you out the application. And always the word application had a negative reaction from me, because I knew they'd ask a lot of silly questions like, what sort of education did you have? And so to give you an idea of what attitude can either destroy people or make them realise it doesn't matter, when it came, sure, there was 8 lines of education. What degrees, what sort of university did you go to, and so forth. And so I wrote across it the degree of the School of Hard Knocks. And they sent me the form and a red dot there with a signature on it that we are now members of the Australian Institute of Management. I'm really proud of that, because the degree of School of Hard Knocks is, I believe, the hardest one to get, because it costs you more money than any university in what you're going to learn. You lose a lot of money. And somebody once said, in nearly every success book that's ever been written, that success is being knocked down 100 times and still getting up. And then I read another book that said how to succeed in business without really trying. And the other week I thought, gee, I could write one, how to fail in business really trying. Because people are always interested in both, how to succeed and how to fail. The word live itself is excitement, enthusiasm and action, and everything tied up in one. Live is to receive all the benefits that we have. And if we look around here today, in this company, you really project success, and I'm privileged, and my family are privileged today to be here to see so many people. And I believe each and every one of you are not only proud to be with Amway, because not only are you somewhere, but you are someone and you're going somewhere. And this is important, to know where you're going, what sort of direction a company's going to take you when so many companies are liquidating and levelling off and crashing. This company is number one, and to stay number one is what it's all about. And there's a lot of companies that are saying, we're just like Amway, only better, and I've seen 200 of them start and finish the next year. They're not like Amway. They don't have ethics, they don't have credibility, and they don't have the success. They've got to earn that. And they try to capitalise on the back of a lot of Amway people. And often I talk to distributors and I say, look, you know, you name it, we've got it. If we haven't got it, we've got it coming. And you name it, and right here I've got some excitement for you that you don't even know about. And I doubt whether Bruce knows about it. But, but seriously, here's a guy that runs the organisation from the top, and he'll play tennis and get beaten, and I know that he doesn't even cry. But seriously, he accepts that too, because I've seen people, but the next year those people are demoted usually that beat him. Seriously. No, but the fact that he'll rise to the great occasions or come down and meet the person at the level that he's meeting them at, and I've seen him do that and rub shoulders, and I know of no other executive or organisation of executives or coordinator staff or staff at all levels that get on so well together. And I reckon you ought to clap yourselves on that one, because that's important. Give yourself a big clap on that. That's really important. Anyway, the interesting thing is that 10 years ago, 10,000 in debt and marriage and everything else falling down because we didn't know where we were going. We'd just come out of electrical stores with 20 people on the staff working hard for 3 years, working hard, going broke. And we know what it was like to go through the petrol strike in 1972, because the 3 shops had to shut. And that went on for 7 weeks in South Australia, and we had all our money invested. You know, we made a lot of money. We spent it. We had a lot of money in stock, and when we went broke, it went too. And we lost the house we worked for 20 years or close on. We lost it. That was our dream home. We had to start again. Live in an old house on Kensington Road with a rusted roof and a worn-out carpet. And, you know, we had more excitement and more enthusiasm in our start in Amway from that old house. And, you know, they've preserved it in Adelaide, 128 Kensington Road, still there. When I go past, there's where we started. And often I say to people, you can do it too. And they say, well, how? And I said, well, when we started, I went along to a meeting and I saw a guy who talked about making money and success and what it could give you. And I thought, he's got to be kidding. Who are they ripping off? Where's the catch? And I went along with holes in my shoes, because somebody said, if you come along, you might see something that you didn't know was possible. If you don't come, you might never know what you'd miss out on. And, you know, somebody might have missed out on this afternoon. And that day, that guy talked about today what I talk about. It's not sinful, as Rich says, to be successful. It's not a virtue to be a failure. Yet a lot of people think it is. That if we had a lot of failures, all we'd have is failure. We wouldn't have any success. It takes people to achieve, to get other people following them. The world stands aside for any man or woman in any business, in any job, who stands out front and shows the way. And you've got to be, have the GUTS, the guts, the genuine urge to succeed, to do a better job to do that. And somebody else will do a better job because you're doing it. And that's what it is, to become achievers, not just people that accept what they've got, to do better, to communicate. If you're not getting enough, tell them that you're not getting enough, and you'll get more if you do more. You see, I put the if you do more. You see, the more you do, the more you're going to get, and that works the same way in the Amway business. Somebody said, successful people only do what unsuccessful people think about doing. That's it. Somebody said, we were interviewed on Today Tonight in Brisbane. They didn't put the word Amway in, they just said, there's a success arrived on the Gold Coast, and Peter and Penny and family, and they live in this house, and here's a Rolls Royce driving up the driveway, and all this went on, and this success story started off, they made this success through selling and in their thinking. And then the guy had a cup of coffee with me, we were going to start off a little negative, and then he realised I'd been broke. And you know, he couldn't handle it, he didn't know how to handle it, so then he said, you've been broke? And I said, yeah, and he says, oh. And then from that point on, I started interviewing him. And we got people, he said, what do you think success is? I said, it's in your thinking. It's getting people to believe in themselves. He said, you think anyone can become successful? I said, yeah. Seriously. I mean, if I can make it 8th grade education, 10 grand in debt, 72 Falcon, what could you do? You could get the boss's job if you want it. But don't tell him, he'd probably sack you. Okay, seriously. But what you got to do is say, well, I'm not satisfied where I am, I want to go further. There's always somebody that can replace you in that past job while you move further forward. You know something? I look back, and as Penny said, we remember walking into Girrawheen, and we were so impressed to see that Amway had some product there. This thing's really here. We were hanging in there for a few months, wondering how long it was going to last, because the shaky deals were all over the place. Holiday, Tragic, Worst Line products, they were all out there. And, you know, those companies were pyramid companies, and we got thrown in with the rest of them. But you never read or you heard a word of anything but good news about Amway, and you never will. All the good news has been written about this company, and all the bad news is about them. And they aren't like us. They don't start from the bottom and work their way up. They buy positions. And those deals are here today and always gone tomorrow. And we see so many things happen in this business. When we started, I had 7 products. And over there on my right, Penny, I wonder if you could just bring those over for me. You know, this business is a joint venture, as it is with you and the company, with us and the wife with the husband. And the interesting thing is, Penny, without Penny, I could never have made it. The main reason is that she had the attributes, you see, that I didn't have. She had the education, and she did. Penny was a journalist way back. And so a very clever, smart, attractive, beautiful woman. Don't you see why she sold me? Okay? But she projected all those things naturally, as she still does. And you know something? She looks as beautiful today as when I first met her many years ago on the Gold Coast, when I was an entertainer making a living singing songs. On that floor show, we had a group who were paid £25 a week, mum and dad thrown in as well, and they were called the Bee Gees. And they were with me on my floor show for 2 years for £25 a week. You see, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. But those kids had a drive and a dream and a vision of becoming great successes. And you know something? I wrote a few songs. You know, and if you wanted to, I'd even sing them to you, because I'm an old shaven lad. But, and if I won't, Tanya will. Okay, but seriously, Barry Gibb, I remember, he said, well, Peter, you know, and we went along to a night in Coffee Lounge one night, and I sang all my songs. And Penny took tickets at the door. That's a fact. And the interesting thing is no one really knew how good they were, but after a while, Barry started writing some songs. You see, I did it, he could do better. And he did. But I worked with them, and I knew what it was like for them to start. I also, Penny didn't like this when it was first in the paper, it said, Peter shared a flat with Helen Reddy. But it forgot to say, and her first husband. Okay, but the interesting thing, even Helen used to ride a back of a motorbike with me, a scooter bike in Adelaide, in Melbourne, in the old days, and she used to walk my dog as a 15 or 16 year older. Because my sister was very good friends with her sister, Tani Lamond. And the interesting thing, I could tell you a lot about those type of people, but every one of them have a drive and a dream to succeed. and whether it's sharing their joys of their talent. But you see, talent is not something that is given easy. People have to earn the right to use it through hard work. And I saw Helen knocked from pillar to post, and people said she'll never make it, and eventually made it. And she has a little gut reaction about that, because often, a lot of Australians in particular, it's not in to be a success. I've seen it in sport, I've seen it in entertainment, and I've seen it in business. But I'll tell you what, I don't apologise today for the fact that Amway gave us the chance to survive and to bring up the 4 children that I believe, you know, are the greatest asset that we have. If anything happens to me, Penny can run the business. If anything happens to her, our accountants will run the business for our kids and their kids and their kids, and it's sellable and willable. And all that's happened in 10 years. Today, we live in a $350,000 home with in-ground pool. We have 5 bedrooms, a guest room for some of the successors. We use that as a challenge. We live looking at the hills 2 mile out of service, yet we can live, if we want to, as a tourist any day or any night if we want to. But we live a pretty simple life up there. We have a training centre, and we're involved, and we're going to get back, because we don't believe it's right to have what this business is all about in our hands without sharing it with others. But you know, all of that wouldn't be possible. And today, my mind boggled when I went around. I saw the challenge in the eyes of all of the people we spoke to, and I saw the excellence that you were projecting, not just talking about it, but you were proud, is the word, people, proud people. And I would say the thing that we have that's going to take us, all of us, to where we want to go in the future, because we can't survive without you, and I know it's vice versa as well. And just to have today happen wasn't just something, it was meant to happen. And if you knew some of the problems we had along the way, I knew Bruce just kept at us. And, you know, once we get started, we're not going to stop. Somebody said, Peter, you can't take it with you. I said, I'm not going. But you see, the attitude is the key. And I get excited over these products because they're a better product at a better price. They do a better job. That's why we're number 1. You don't have to apologise. You just say, listen, Buster, you get out and do what we've done, and then, maybe, in 10 years, you'll be where we are. That's what we've got to project. We are the greatest success, Amway of Australia, in direct selling. We are the greatest success story. We are the most integrity. I'm talking about the company. The name Amway, and I'm proud to be a part of that as a distributor, which in actual fact is the pipeline to the customer. And it's the person who does more that gets more. And we have some real excitement coming up in the next few months. We've reactivated some ideas that we believe, and that's all success is getting a good idea and putting it into action. Action speaks louder than words. And so often we say to people, listen, you don't have to sell. These are so good. The company is such a fantastic backup. Nothing ever goes wrong. Okay? But seriously, if it does, I'll get in touch with that great guy that looks after the transport. You know, we had a problem on the Gold Coast, and a person didn't get his product and had customers waiting one night, and so he rang me up thinking that I could do the impossible. And I said, no, only Bruce Shanklin can do that. And so I rang up the wonderful guy in charge of the transport, and he said, leave it to me. And he rang that guy who wasn't that impressed at that time with Amway, the manager of that division on the coast. He said, oh, well, we'll get it out there tomorrow. I said, that's not good enough. Amway gets it out now. And he said, oh, well, I'm sorry about that, but it'll have to be tomorrow. He said, the only way that product would get out is if I put it in my car. And he said, I'm certainly not going to do that as the manager. You know something? When he got a telephone call from the particular company, IPEC I think it was then, when he got that telephone call from the managing director, you get that product out even if you've got to put it in your car. And you know something? He took that product into his car, took it to the caravan park, where that guy got 20 cartons on average a week delivered to his caravan park, where he's building an Amway business to direct distributor level. And the thing about that was that the guy in that caravan park is still talking about that guy, how he had the manager of that company deliver the product on a Sunday afternoon to the caravan park. So, okay, I've got a couple of things here to talk to you about, very simple things, such as excitement. Like, I don't know if you're, but I'm excited. I feel fantastic. I feel terrific. How do you feel? How do you feel? Well, that's what it's all about, okay. Well, we open up, just to give you an idea of what success is all about, a diary in our business is important. And if you have other things to do, or you think of something on the spot, pull a little notebook out and write it down while you remember it. That'll help you in your job. And it's only a simple little thing. I often carry one of those as well in my pocket here. And, you know, Amway, it used to be just an ordinary notepad, but of course Amway gave me a gold one. That's what happens in success along the way. So, again, it's interesting how your attitudes change. I used to wear a little silver ring, and then somebody said to me, "Peter, you want to go into the gold business?" And I'm a little bit hesitant on all of that, unless I can wear it or have it in my pocket. So he said, "Well, look, you know, here's a terrific buy." And a few years ago I bought it, and of course an asset that's grown too is that ring. And I won't change that ring, which has got my initials on it, till I put the crown pin on there and wear the Crown Ambassador here. And we're going out to a challenge to do Crown, then Ambassador, and as your business has those same challenges in it, I don't know what the titles are, but I saw some rubies today, right, in your organisation of 10 years in the business. Okay, I know he's got a diamond there somewhere. Okay, most important thing is if you ask for it, you're going to get it. Communicate. Now, why I want you to be realistic of where this thing's going, where this company is going to take you, is that have you any hesitation, as I do when people showing the business, in talking to anyone about a company that has the founder of the business on the front page of the Saturday Evening Post? Now, that's Rich DeVos's photo when his mother saw Rich on the front page of the Saturday Evening Post. You know, she knew that Amway was a good business, but she didn't really think that her son was as big a deal as what he was until she saw him on the Saturday Evening Post. Then she said, well, he's really made it. He's really made it. But you know, you open it up, and then you see Rich and his family with Regan and his family, and a whole story about the great success of the faith and family of the Rich DeVos family. And then you turn it over, and you read another one about great patriots. And in that, our modern patriots. And who do we have again? But another story about Rich DeVos, your boss. And I'll tell you what, he's my boss. And as a man, Jay and Rich, for people to follow, men or women, or children, to get an idea of people with good examples. And I've sat and had meals and chats and talks and played and walked on the beaches of the world, as each year we get a trip overseas, mainly because of our past success in Amway. And it carries us through year by year. But here, every year, that's last year's August edition. And I am proud of that, and I show a lot of people that, because where we are today, because of the example they set for us to follow. And I just want to tell you that you're with a company that's second to none, and you have the challenge, because today, what Amway would be experiencing is a shortage of people who have excellence in their mind. And where do you think they're going to pull the leaders out of this organisation, the backup, the management and the executive area, man or woman? They're going to pull them out of the very people in this very room. And it has been proved that Australian distributors are as good, and in some cases better, than people around the world. It has been proved that the executives have gone on and to the highest echelon of success in the company, such as Laurie. I remember Laurie coming over and sitting down at our table. I rang him up, I said, oh, we seem to be working hard and we don't seem to be making much money. And he drew a little line down the middle of a fool's cap page and he put balance sheet. And he said for and against. And in other words, in and out. Your Amway expenses against your personal. And our personal expenses covered that page and another one. And he said, you're making a lot of money, Peter. He said, you're earning $500-700 a week out of this business. That was in '72. And I said, yeah, but we're spending it. He said, I don't know how you're doing it. He said, you're earning $800 a week out of the business and you're spending $700. And I don't know how you're doing it. He said, just keep doing it. And you know something? We robbed Peter and we paid Paul, and Penny robbed Peter and I robbed Penny. But the interesting thing is that gradually, because we had the guidance of these two guys who started with a box of soap powder in a warehouse, that's how it started in Australia, and look at what it's finished up. Because somebody had faith, somebody had belief, somebody had the guts, genuine urge to succeed, to get it out there where people could get the benefits of the opportunity and the jobs that it would create. And you think about it. The turnover in Australia, well, it's been quoted somewhere in the 100 million turnover a year. is all coming through you people. Because of that excellence again. Because of our belief in you giving us that backup and that confidence and that faith in what you are about. And I would like to say today that it's not what we're doing, it's not what the achievers on the distributor side are doing. It's what you're doing that makes us what we are today. And just to show you that what you have now and what we have coming in the future is just so exciting. You know, we hear about this deal. There's an oil deal going around, and they say, look, you know, you got into Amway on the ground floor. If you get into this one, you get in on the ground floor and your income will go through the ceiling. And I say to them, what you're saying, if you get in on the ground floor, there is a ceiling. That's what they're saying. I say to them, if you got in when we started, I'd hate anyone to start in Amway the way we did 10 years ago. How would you like to start in a store that you started in 12 years ago? How'd you like to get back there? Well, you see, you'll never experience what the original people in the store, in the office, experienced. But they look back and see all that. Today we accept all this enormous building. When Amway put a complex up with a potential $6 million development, it was big news, and it's still big news. Very few companies are doing that. Last year, and I take all that data and I use that. That's good because you helped that thing happen. And then we turn it over and there's the Adelaide warehouse. Virtually a copy. Not as good a copy, but a copy of what's happening here. And they're getting motivated because they've got a challenge to get to some of that excellence that you've achieved in the time that you've been going. And so they got a whole front page news. Do you know why? Tonkin, the Premier at that time, said, this is good news. Somebody's got faith in the future of South Australia. And it says here, Amway has faith in the future of South Australia. Giving people an income who work for the company. Putting up a building that gave builders and carpenters and plumbers a job that they hadn't had for quite a few years, because when Penny and I lived there, I tell you what, they were about to turn the lights off when we left of that city. It was going down, and attitude-wise was going down because there was no jobs. Amway creates employment. Amway creates that incentive to do great things, and today the $6 million complex is a reality. You know what happened? Amway put that after we left. They put that up. I kept saying to Bruce, we need a warehouse. Now I'm in Queensland and we don't have a warehouse. So it's an interesting thing. Okay, and then you turn it over. Products studied and tested. Okay, we don't have the research development buildings here, but they have the biggest in the world in direct selling in America. And when you go there, you walk 15 miles an area under the roof. And I said that 10 years ago. I'm going to change it to 30 miles under the roof. Right, because I also date a little. When Bruce says, Peter, you're not quoting big enough figures there. Okay, then it takes you 2.5 miles to pass the plant. Seriously, and then you go and you see an enormous, giant-sized helicopter with an Amway logo on the back of it. And it's a jet helicopter. There's Rich, going for coffee. Because the canteen now is 15 miles down the road. Okay. Then you go outside and they say, we've got a cab waiting for you, and it's a Greyhound bus converted, believe it or not, into a bar, coffee machine. There's one thing that Amway needs to sell. You know something I always say to people, when you start in this business, to become a direct distributor, it takes 60 gallons of coffee. And seriously, cafe bar should be in partnership with Amway. I reckon we'd okay. Then it says, Amway is the simple business of sharing a great idea with a friend. Selling a service or a product is all the same. We're all salespeople. And the way we go about selling it, to do a better job, to be a better you. As somebody said, it might not be to have a Rolls Royce, but listen, I knew that if I got one 4.5 years ago when we got one, I said to you, who said to me it wouldn't work, and I parked it out the front of their house for half a day. And on the back of that car, it's got an Amway sticker, because I'm proud of that name. And I look around and I see all the guys with Amway on there. Listen, you don't realise how much that means to some people. There's many that don't know about it. There's a driver in a Rolls Royce parked out the front. And on the way here, I sponsored him 3 times. And he said, no one told me that. He said, I thought they just sold cleaning products. You see, because somebody hasn't communicated properly. So how could you ever get the chance to have a prospect driving a Rolls Royce, sitting in the back, telling him all the benefits and the fact that I have one of those as a spare car? Because last week just got rid of the V12 Jag. That was Penny's second car. We needed a Bowser to run it, so we decided to get rid of it. And then we got a Mercedes, a little red Terror that Penny has now, and that's really good. And Troy, at 17 years of age, has his own business using Amway products, and it's a car detailing business, uses all the Amway products. And how's that? You know, to start a business of your own, and he's got a new car, a Celica, because of that. You see, again, nothing given too easy. He had to work for it, but 17, I was working hard to pay a push bike off. But they'll never have to. We're living in a new area. I look around, I see computers everywhere. Listen, our kids have been spending a fair bit of time today learning all about those computers. Eventually they'll say, Dad, move aside, we know how to do this better. Because in a few days, a few years' time, they'll press a button and say, right, we want 50 cartons of that, 50 cartons, and you guys are going to read it there, put it through to dispatch, and they're going to send it out, probably by helicopter or something, to our doorstep. Or in the days that Amway's looking ahead in America to warehouses, I know this is happening, where they're looking at food, where you can just dial through at a computer, and the customer will do this and have the product delivered from a warehouse to their doorstep, because time is becoming valuable. Who wants to get in a car, put their kids in the car, go down to the main street into a traffic jam, fill it up with petrol, then go to Tom the Cheap or wherever they call it here, the Right Way store or Safeway. Then pull up and not get a parking spot. And if you can't, like on the Gold Coast the other day, a woman just tipped another car. They had an argument. One of the women was pregnant. Nothing happened. But the interesting thing, I'll tell you what did happen. They had an argument. One of the women hit the other woman. She went back, told her husband. He came back with an iron bar and smashed that car up. Who wants to put up with that in the parking lot? I said, I won't go there. And I'll tell you what, that parking lot is half empty because no one's going to park it. But that was in the paper, and this is what I'm saying. He wants to put up with that rubbish, then go inside, have to get a trolley, put the kid in the trolley, drive it round, have to try and find somebody to ask, what's this one, what's that one? And it hasn't even got the price marked anymore. You even got to find out the price. Write it on with a pencil if you're trying to save money. Then you go to the checkout, have to go into that queue, and that woman there says, here, I'm first, and you say, no, you're not. Now you've got another blue going on to get out. Then you get outside of that place, back in your car, and if you're lucky, you've got a good tyre and somebody might have slashed it. You get back in the car, you're in such a hurry, you're really upset, you're going at top speed and the policeman pulls you over. You get back inside and you say, my God, who wants to go shopping? All we do is say, listen, I'm going to come over and see you, work out what you want, and I'll pick it up and I'll deliver it to you. You know, and Rich is talking that way too, because that's what's going to happen, that's what's happening, that's why we are the most successful direct selling company in Australia. And you know something? We're the only company at the moment, Amway-wise, worldwide, that can claim that at this stage. Give yourself another clap. That's another one. The most successful. So, okay. On the Gold Coast, just to give you an idea, it's not just... we became a success through Amway. And when this guy interviewed us, he said, Peter, you know, and we had people after that 10-minute interview in our lounge room ringing us up and saying, you know, I think I can do it. And I'd say, do what? And they'd say, get a caravan. And they'd say, how do I get it? And I'd say, I think I have a way that you can achieve that. You see, because on that interview they didn't say how we became successful. They just said, made a success out of selling an idea, a product. And so the interesting thing, one thing what happened then, I went aside to see what sort of a success we could make, making the inner circle of success in Amway, which is, a lot of people don't know what that's all about, to the outside of the rat race of the normal businesses, real estate, commodities and cars and so forth. And so we started a program called Success is Simple to see how it would go. A few ads through that interview on TV. 400 people turned up at $25 a head. And we gave them about 2.5 hours about success, motivation and positive thinking. And you know something? We had people saying they were doubling and doing something because I believe they paid the price. Where in often cases we take it and accept it without realising what we have. And Amway often is easy to get in, it's easy to get out, it's easy to work here, it's easy to get another job, but it's not going to be the type of job you've got here. And Amway, it took me to get outside to see what that rat race was all about. And you know something, it all revolved around me. If anything happened to me, who was going to take over that scene? because you see there was nothing ongoing. In Amway we realised that we had this ongoing income. We moved 2,000 miles from South Australia after 8 years and shut the door virtually, ran a few meetings but not really totally dedicated. Oh, ye little faith, is this thing going to work? After 8 years, and you know something, 12 months later the cheques were bigger than when we left South Australia. And the motivating thing was that a fellow walked in and he was driving a nice flash car and he knew me in Adelaide and he said, Peter, what are you going to do now? And I said, what do you mean, what are we going to do now? We don't have to do anything if we don't want to, because I often say you'll work hard in this business for 4 years and never have to work hard for the rest of your life again, as long as you work hard. And less than 1% of the people in Amway, in the company, in normal businesses, work hard. Yet I believe there's nearly 100% result here today when I look around and see the people in here. And that's why Amway, again, is what it is. So he said to me, what are you going to do? He said, your Amway business won't keep going. I said, I'm sorry, mate. This came in the mail. It's not doing too bad, and the cheque was around $11,000 bonus that month. The reason why I said that is that the security that's involved in all levels of success in this business, at the top or in the ground floor. It's not where you start, it's where you want to finish that counts. And let me get back to this, that through that little deviation into the motivation scene, and all the word motivation, it's not an individual, anyone can be a motivator. A motivator is somebody that finds the motive and then puts it into action. And so 10 years ago they didn't say, oh, Peter, you're going to be a real big success. They said, that won't work. And I could have listened to those people. Some of them were my friends, relations and neighbours, and often I say to people, after you've talked to your friends, relations and neighbours, get some strangers. That's where it's going to happen. If you make it through the friends, relations and neighbours. And often pride stops us. Look, I went along to that meeting with holes in my shoes, a nice suit on. The shirt was turned inside out because it was frayed on the other side. The holes in my shoes, to stop the leaks from the water in Adelaide, always rained in the winter, I had weedy tops stuck up them. And I told that in America, and a black guy came up to me after, he said, Peter, I believe this thing now. He said, because look, my shoes are like yours. He said, I've got rice bubbles up them. He'd forgotten to take the packet out. He squinched when he... Okay. He reckoned it was more comfortable. Seriously, okay. But people all around the world are excited about success. Success breeds success. Failure breeds failure in anything. So anyway, there was a football team on the Gold Coast, and I found that talking to people at all levels, sensibly, intelligently, you know, selling the service. If you've made it in selling a good service, you can be where you want to be within 10 years of now. But before you make a decision to do anything else, look at something that can match what you've got. There's nothing that can beat it. And I can tell you now, there's nothing that can match it. Seriously? If there is a division, what you've got to do, you know something, lack of communication is everywhere. Speak up, or Bruce Small years ago, very famous up on the Gold Coast. Years ago he had a bike store chain, 20, 30 stores in Melbourne alone, and I knew New South Wales had a lot of them. And Bruce Small once said, if you don't speak up, you'll never be heard. And I think I learnt that along the way. But you know, he also said that, again, that what you've got to do is without the pain, there is no gain. So sure, sometimes you've got to do the things that you don't like doing. And often we had to do that, and sometimes come home after midnight. You know, in the entertainment business, if I was out and listened to a star, having coffee with them afterwards, I'd come home, I'd say to Penny, gee, I'm motivated. She says, I'm not. Where you been? I come home from an Amway meeting and I say, boy, I've had a great night, I'm really motivated. How much we make? Because in this business, you know, she spends what I spends. That's the only trouble. I said, we work hard and the wives spend it. Seriously, no. This has been an occasion where we've been able to come here, and Amway put us up at the Hilton Hotel in a suite. I mean, it was like the first football field I ever saw. This suite is so big, it's ridiculous. And then Bruce said, well, Peter, you're going to sponsor half a dozen people tonight. We thought you needed some room. No, but seriously, they put us up in a suite, plus another room for the two littlies and another room for the others. And everything's there. We went out to a terrific night last night with the executives to the San Francisco room, a special room. And they just lay on you what, in fact, what you will give, you're going to receive. And I believe I learnt what's in the book. I've never read the book. One of these days I will. But it says, knock and it shall be opened. And I'm not over-involved in it. Somebody said, Peter, what do you believe? I said, Amway. Because it saved our lives. It saved my life. Because you're looking at somebody that would be in a box 6 foot under if it wasn't for Amway. Because without a challenge or a direction or a goal, that's where I was going. And I was downhill. There was nowhere else to go, just 6 foot under. And so when they gave us this ladder to start climbing from the bottom, and we reached out and gradually believed in somebody like Laurie Mullum, who said, if you don't make a go of it, we can't believe much. And so he said, Peter, at that table, just stick with it. I said, I think I'll stop sponsoring. He said, you stop sponsoring, your people stop sponsoring. So when you hear about the sponsoring side, that it increases the volume, which increases the product range, which means more staff come on. Right? Isn't that what it's all about? Giving people more jobs, which means more bobs. So that's what it's all about. Okay, so this football team said, Peter, will you come in and motivate the team? And I said, okay, we'll do it. It's something different. And so I dressed in my suit that I have on here, went into this dressing room, and as this paper says, one part that I don't like about it is what the paper said, because a little bit negative. I don't believe they had glasses on that night, but it says, demons pin hopes on mind power. Who would you back to win an arm wrestling contest? A middle-aged, unfit man or a muscle-rippling young Australian Roos footballer? When Australia's Mr. Motivator, Peter Javelin, posed this question to Surfers Paradise Australian Roos football players on Thursday night, no one was prepared to put their money on the obvious underdog. He quickly dispelled the players' immediate conclusions by pitting himself a balding, overweight, middle-aged businessman against the surface strongman defender Alan Smith. The pair, Javelin in a business suit and Smith in training gear, battled it out on the grubby Isla Capri dressing room floor for several minutes before the result was finally declared a draw. Now, you know something? When I walked in there, they said, who's this mug? Who's this mug? Beer in their hand after training. Who's this mug? Fancy having to put up with this. What a lot of rubbish. And you know something? I looked around that room after, and I reckon that we got 99.9%. The other bloke left early in the piece. He had to catch a train. But the interesting thing is that it's not, I said to those people there, the key is to try. And the word itself is coming into reality a lot more to me, and I said, listen, it's not to win, it's to try to win. And if you go out there tomorrow and you're trying to win, that's the question. And I said, if you're fit and you've got all of the attributes that you would need to be a success on the football field, you're going to win the game. If your attitude's right, then it'll all come together. If you're unfit, you know something? They put the beer down, and then they started to listen a little. And I'll just show you, I said, there's number one thing. One of these days, I'm going to get around to it, is what the average Australian says about success. One of these days, I'm going to do that. One of these days, I'll run around Australia. One of these days, I'll get some running shoes on and get myself fit, and I'll do this. One of these days, I'll get around to it. So you know what we do? And that night I said, right, as of tonight, you're going to get around to do the things that are going to make you the greatest football team in history in Queensland. And to do that, you've got to be totally committed if you want to get to the top. As a team effort, it will bring great results if you get the right attitude. And so I gave them all a round to it to start with. So they couldn't say they didn't have one. And that's what a round to it looks like. All right, so they all got one of those to show them. So anyway, then we got on from that. And then I read in the paper the next day that Amway's starting to shake up manufacturers with its success. And that was in the Financial Times, and that's the sort of thing that's happening right around this country. And then I pulled out the Reader's Digest, August, and I read there in that edition, you don't have to apologise for being with an organisation that has the two founders' article in there, and then the story about a blind man who opened up a business because of your help, and your type of help in the States helped the blind man build a bigger business than we've got. He's never seen the products, he's never seen the plan. He just hands up, he said, how do you kill a fly with bug spray when you can't even see it? You give the product to somebody else and they spray it. That's a blind man. He's the Crown Ambassador today, Dick Ossinger. He says the only thing that'll stop you is not a physical handicap, it's a poor attitude about yourself. And he's totally blind. And I know if he can do it, anyone can do it. On the outside, anyone can do it, with you backing him up, with you backing us up. And there are people who today don't know anything about Amway, who tomorrow will be ready for it because they would have lost their job, and they're proud people who don't want to sell soap. Boy, you've got to be kidding me, selling soap? That was me 10 years ago. And then I went along to that meeting, and this guy was spending money like buying a motor car without asking the price. And I thought, where's the nearest exit? And I went along and I said, you want me to bring me checkbook? And he said, no, leave it at home. It was the only deal where they said that. All of them said, yeah, bring your checkbook. And so I'm waiting there for the catch, and then this guy spending more money. He said, how'd you like to take your wife out and buy her a fur and just say, yeah, wrap it up without asking the price? I said, he's mad. And then a couple of years later, we did that. And it was a real good exercise. And the bloke said, well, don't you want to know the price? I said, no, wrap it up. I'd sneaked and had a look at the price. Penny didn't. But Penny's wearing it these days because the only place we can wear it's New South Wales, of course. Okay, but the interesting thing is that to read that article, it switches people on because it's got Dick Ossinger's story, how he earns over $200,000 a year out of this business. A blind man. So don't let people rubbish you. A guy the other day said, Amway, said, that doesn't work. I said, well, you're looking at a success. Trouble is, you've been talking to too many failures. What are you going to do now? If I can show you that it can work, and I can help you, train you, motivate you, do it for you to get you started, you've got to be interested, right? Or I'm wasting my time with you. I say to people at meetings, listen, shut up or put up. If you can match the success of this company with any other, just match it. If you can match the fact that I can start a business with no overhead, no staff, no capital investment, and no risk, and have an income today in excess of $100,000 a year, and have a Rolls and a Jag and a Mercedes and a $350,000 home. Reality, fact, not fiction. Put up or shut up. Let's go. And I then say, listen, if I'm going to help you, will you get some people together? You put the coffee on and I'll come over and do it for you. Well, you know, we sometimes have them queuing up. Because our attitude is, listen, we can get you successful if you want it. There it is, they have to want to be successful. So whether it's selling the product in the field or becoming a leader in your field, you have to want to do it. Not because somebody else wants you to, but when you get that gut reaction, I can do great things. Because we're all born equal in this country with an equal opportunity to remain, as somebody said, unequal. We can be a failure or success. Which do you want? Seriously, which do you want in the future for your kids and your family? Failure or success? Right, I'll get back to living. If they don't call what we're doing today as living, I don't know what living's all about. The word itself, live, is excitement, enthusiasm. And success itself is what living's all about. And to follow people who show good examples. Negative people develop negative attitudes who destroy, corrupt, and totally disintegrate people's attitudes. And if you mix with negative people, you become negative. I said that to a woman one night, and she turned around and she said, you just showed me I'm married to a negative man. Well, I didn't mean to do that, but you know, the interesting thing is, sometimes the truth's got to come out that you've got to mix with positive people to become positive. And this company can give you what you need, because there's no one here that I know of in an executive type position that is not prepared to talk to you at any time about anything that you want to talk to them about. And that's called communication. And that's great. That's great. Because they're there to help. You've got a family in this business. The distributors love you. And it's only when we come out like a day like today that we get a chance to communicate a little of how we feel. And I just feel so proud. I just want to get you to realise that we are a family team, married together, distributors and the backup of the company. That's you. So anyway, the word itself, live, and this is a very interesting thing. Negative is destroy. Excitement, live, is success. And the word live itself is spelled evil backwards. So which way do you want to go? That's what I'm saying. Negative people are evil. Here's a company that got there because of positive thinking. Here's a company, the greatest positive thinker I believe in the world is Rich DeVos. Second is Jay Van Andel. You have to get some of that rubbing off on you, wouldn't you? But living next door to each other, you'd have to do that. But seriously, both of them have terrific attributes. And in the business sector, of course, Jay is the man that comes out there, and they both give enormous presentations and belief. And that's why I'm excited to be part of this organisation. We haven't done what we feel can be done, and we are getting so excited about this trip that we're going to go back and reactivate ourselves to the point where we won't stop. And we know where we've got to go. It's no good, as an old saying, success is pushing a snowball up a hill. It's like that. When you first start, it's hard. But when you get it halfway, it's even harder because you've got to push harder because you've just come halfway. Boy, it's getting heavier, and that snowball is getting heavier, and you're halfway there, and you know, you can feel it on your shoulder, and you creep up a little bit more, and you just hold it and get it to the top, and then you give it a shove. And it goes down the other side, and it gains momentum. And you know something? It grows. And that's today. Somebody said, Peter, what's it like? Well, I said, I know what it's like to be poor, because I've been there. We've been there. And you can ask Penny, which one's better, to be poor or rich? The main thing is that if you learn the fact that no one, we'd have to be living in a fool's paradise, including even in service paradise, to think that would be there forever if we did nothing. So we believe we've got to do more. And I suppose if that giving idea, the more you give, the more you're going to receive, eventually along the way, we'll get more. And there's a little thing I'd like to leave you with, and it is if you use people to become successful in anything, if you use people to become successful, you'll fail. If you help people to become successful, you will succeed. And isn't that the great thing, that all you have to do in this business is believe what has been put down, that thousands of distributors worldwide, in America and Canada, there were hundreds of people already doing what Amway said we could do. And now there's thousands. So I suppose we've had a success story to follow on and to learn from. And then you look at the audio-visual department here. And as I said, Stuart there's getting so much gear in there that Bruce is cutting down the size of the place to give him the idea that they're getting so much of that gear that he just doesn't know where to put it. And of course Stuart wants a bigger place, and Bruce says, no, we don't need a bigger place. But when I look at all of that gear and the success that this company's got together on audio-visual presentations coming up, slide series back up. I mean, I saw people over there doing artwork. We didn't know all that was going on. We had to see that. We didn't know there were so many people involved in the excellent backup that you're doing. And so I'm really proud, and I give you 10 points today out of 10 for the wonderful belief and feeling that you have about this company. Okay, and then we turn it over a little, and we look at a scene that came to us out of the Australian, Weekend Australia, and of course David and Nadia Coman's is on that one, and it says, Amway, how the millions roll in. No other company's ever had that sort of publicity, and it talks about how, again, people are making the type of money that they make. And then, to give you a little bit of excitement, here's an award that we got through being in Amway in front of thousands of people in Adelaide, and there's only 80 awards given that he's signing at this particular night, and that's Neil Armstrong, giving us the Neil Armstrong Award for helping people succeed in Amway to spend money in the community. And that's another important thing. You know, when we bought the rolls, the guy said, Peter, I'm glad you bought it from me, because when you bought it from me, I paid the staff and they spent the money in the community. When we bought the Merc a few months ago, the Grand Motors in Southport said, Peter, we're glad you bought the Mercedes from us because we paid the staff this week and they spent the money in the community. And the interesting thing is we go to the Kmart, we just buy non-Amway products there. The interesting thing is that we probably spend more than most people because we've got more money to spend. And the woman said, you've just bought more than anyone today. And I said, well, I've got 4 kids and I've got an Amway business, family business. And there's a lot of people in it and I've got to feed a lot of those people. But we spend a lot of money in the community, and I don't apologise. And that's why we got the award for helping people make money through Amway to spend it in the community. So success certainly is not sinful, and poverty, as Rich says, is not a virtue. Hold your head up high, move on into the future, which is going to be great, tremendous, fantastic, exciting, all because of the backup that we have from the company and you backing the company up, backing up the distributors. So I congratulate you on behalf of my family for what you've given us today, which is just something that 10 years ago would have only been a dream. And I didn't believe there would be many more surprises, because if anyone could get in 10 years in a lifetime what Penny and I have had, we've had 4 lifetimes in the last 10 years, and I just hope somebody lives one of them in their lifetime that we've had out of this wonderful world. The trips away that are there, and the wonderful reception such as today that we've been shown. And I just feel sorry that more people who may be in our position that we were 10 years ago are a little bit too proud to listen to somebody who's prepared to help them. Showing and telling, not selling, showing and telling does the selling. And often people say to me, I can't sell, so that puts me out. I say, that's great. We're looking for people who can't sell. Surely you could drop a tray full of products off to a friend and say to them, if I could leave you these products for 24 hours, let me know tomorrow what you want. Could you say that? And they say yes, and I say, well, that's all we want. Give us 10 names we can do that with, and let's start with that. We use these products ourselves. We use all the Amway products. Not only saves us money, but makes us money. Today, I have every Amway product that not only I bought, but I wear the Amway socks. I got the Amway shoe spray on my shoe. I come out of the shower this morning after using Amway soap. I shampooed my hair with Amway shampoo before I got an Amway. I hardly had any hair. Somebody said, okay, seriously? Okay, I then shaved myself with Amway shaving cream. It makes the blades last longer. It goes twice as far, 10 times as far, believe it or not. Lasts a year, that can. Put it up against Brand X. Our products are better products at a better price that do a better job. I eat the Amway vitamins. I'm eating my way to success when I take them. How would you like to get in a business where you can eat your way to success? Amway has a drink coming out. Now I'm going to be able to say, listen, you can eat and drink your way to success. It's a product that they mix with milk and it gives you vitamins. Listen, I eat them by the handful. Somebody said, Peter, how do you keep it up? How do you keep up that excitement? But seriously, I want to give you something. This is what's coming, a catalogue. I've been saying, and I know Bruce really likes me to say this, for the last 10 years I've been saying in 18 months we're going to get a catalogue. You know, I kept up and said, when we're going to get a warehouse in Adelaide, as I said, we eventually got a warehouse in Adelaide. And if you keep at the company after a while, they say, you know, he's right. Okay, or they're right, because it is a joint effort. But the interesting thing, as I say to people today, build an organisation. We have over 1,500 distributors in our group in South Australia alone. And you know, when you think about that, started with one person that showed us the business and I didn't want it. I put the kit in the drawer and shut the door and locked it. I thought it would bite me. The Amway kit, I thought there was something funny about it. The guy who showed me the business 6 months later, he'd quit. And we bought the kit because he went on about how great the company was, how great the products were, and I looked at him and he was going all night. 11 o'clock, I thought to myself, my God, this guy will never stop. And all of a sudden he said, all you got to do is sign here and you're a distributor. And then I'll go and come back later. And I thought, my God, he's just given me the way out. How much it cost? He said so much. And you know something? I was so broke that night that I didn't care. I just wanted to get, and he said, where do I sign? I signed to get rid of that guy. You know what? The next week the cheque bounced. You could say we bounced into the Amway business. The interesting thing, I still didn't want it. 6 months later, he'd quit because the 6 people he sponsored gave him a hard time, just like me. I said, you come here and talk Amway, I'll throw you out. And that guy packed up and went away, and I've been looking for him ever since. He's walked away from around $15,000 a year bonus that he would have got if he became a success, and I would have helped him. But every time I go overseas, I say, anyone know where Buck Thomas from Phoenix, Arizona is? The first person who told me about Amway, who I gave a hard time because I was negative. Would you believe 10, 11 years ago, as Penny said, for 6 months in this business, I was down, pushed down, shoved down, kept down. At that time, the rat race was dog eat dog, kick them when they're down. No friends in business. Take them down where you can. Seriously, that was how it was. All selling, to me, was that way. Get a sale at all costs. Shut the door if you had to. Keep them in there. That's the way we were taught. Get the order. The soft sell, I'd never heard of it. I thought a soft sell was ice cream. Okay, the hard sell was the success thing, and of course those deals, we went through businesses like that, and some of those people today are in our organisation in Amway, and they worked for us in other businesses. You know something? We never sponsored them. Somebody else did in our group. We were often prejudging people. Oh, they'd be good, they'd be no good, they'd be good, they would be. How many people do you think prejudged me? Our friends had seen us come up and go down. Peter and Penny have had it. Some of them went out and drank champagne and had a wake on it. Oh, good, he's had it again. Next time he come up, he's going to go down. Well, how long he's going to last this time? How many people you see he's a fool? You know, the guy's destined to fail. And then along the way come this guy snacking and he said, Peter, this is a great business. They wrote a book called The Possible Dream, and all of a sudden it came on the market, and it had on page 111 a story about what happened in Adelaide when we first started. It's old hat now, but you know, that book was sold in bookstores all around Australia. It became a #1 bestseller in America, and Charles Paul Conn wrote the book about Amway. And in there, when we were in America, we were interviewed by Charles Paul Conn, and he pulled us aside. He said, look, I want to sit down and have some coffee with you. And I thought, who's this guy? And he said, I want to write some gear down about you, and he's asking all sorts of funny questions. I thought, this is funny. This guy's either from the taxation department or something. Anyway, we sat down and told him a few things, and then I said, who's that guy? And they said, well, last night there were so many people around that fella, you couldn't get near him. He wrote the Johnny Cash story and many other famous books. You know something? Today he has a challenge to write books all the time about Amway. He's not on the staff, he just writes them because he wants to tell the world about the successes and the type of things that Amway's doing. He's written 4. That book, The Possible Dream, became the first book in history to ever hit the top 10 bestseller. A book about a business to ever hit the top 10, and that became a bestseller worldwide. And on page 113, it said how we went along to that meeting, somewhat belligerently, to see what those smart aleck Yanks were up to. And you know something? I had to ask somebody what the word belligerently meant, because I never got an 8th grade education. And do you know what they said? Belligerently meant aggressive. I went along to that first meeting aggressive. And some people will come along here and say it's not right that a company can be as successful as this. But the reason why it is that it gives you the freedom to succeed or the freedom to fail. A person can make $100 a day, $100 a week, or $1,000 a day, or $1,000 a week, or whatever they want to make. The freedom to succeed is there. So you can go out as a distributor. You have that freedom to move internationally as a company executive, because this company is expanding worldwide. We can expand our business by talking to people. We know of a group in our group that's getting a bonus from people in the UK that they've never met. They sponsored a couple here, didn't do much. They sponsored another couple, they didn't do much. They spent a lot of time to sponsor those people though. They went to the UK on a holiday, they sponsored another couple there, and that couple in the UK have become direct distributors, and the 3% money comes back to Australia. Because somebody took the time to spend time with somebody, and that was taken down the road to somebody who needed it, who wanted it. And so everyone earns after the effort. And what I would like to say, that today the success in Amway is coming because it gives recognition. Often when we feel, such as today, that probably, but in 1976, that's an Amway American newsgram, and it gave us the story there of the first double diamonds, and we were real proud of that. It's 1976. And then we came home to see a Hong Kong newsgram where they had the same photo, and it was all in Chinese, and we couldn't even read what they said about us. But to know that you could join a company and one day be known that what we've done here, even the Chinese can do, and are doing it very well today. Today it operates in France, Belgium, Switzerland, Germany, America, Canada, England, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur. You could say I've been everywhere. Amway has. And it operates and it will continue to go on a worldwide scale because it gives people that dream, that challenge, and that vision to succeed individually, depending on the time and the effort that they put in. And I just want to leave you with this. There's a story that actually goes that there was a horse at the local race track, and every Saturday it just, over the last 12 months, it won. Every Saturday, without a word of a lie, it won. And it was the worst looking horse that you have ever seen. It looked unkept and it looked scraggy. It just looked as if it was out of its class, and every time in that last 300 yards it just took off and left the field. And they asked the jockey, and he couldn't tell him. He said, well, you'll have to ask the owner. And he went up to the owner and he said to him, what is it that you have that makes that horse win every Saturday? He said, well, I just say to that horse, he said, well, we talk to that horse, and that horse listens to us, because he wins every week. He says, roses are red, violets are blue, horses that lose are turned into glue. Now let me tell you that when we got into Amway, we had a mountain of debts. And I don't know, but we could have papered our wall with blueies, that they call blueies. And the local policeman was our greatest demonstrator that I used to use on a Friday night. He would knock on the door every Friday night at the middle of a meeting. And he would take his hat off and he'd say, Peter, to Penny, he'd say, look, can I see Peter for a minute? And I was madly in the middle of doing the demo, and I'd quickly say, Penny'd say, Penny, it's blue. And I'd go over there and I'd say, how you going? Great to see you. I said, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a demonstration. The local guys come up because they have a lot of shoes like these. They're the best for demonstrating, and he comes in to show us how this product works. And we used to demonstrate shoe spray. And he'd look at his shoes and he'd say, that's real good stuff. And I had the best account weekly, paying them off and then buying the products. But you see, how to overcome a situation. You're really excited telling people how good this business is, and somebody knocks on the door because you haven't paid your bill. But we did it in spite of all of that because we had faith. And Amway kept saying, keep trying, keep trying. Keep trying and buying. Keep trying and selling. And we kept trying, selling, sponsoring, trying, buying, everything. And the interesting thing is eventually that mountain of debts gradually diminished, and we didn't have to go bankrupt. We paid off 10,000 debts in the first 18 months in Amway. Seriously, in the first 18 months. We worked out with 7 products how to make 6,000 bonus a month in the first year. And you know something? I tried to find if we could put that on paper what it was, and I'll tell you what it was. We were desperate. And what you've got to be successful is desperate, desperate. I'm looking for desperate people, like myself. How many do you know? I often say to people, if you're looking for somebody to sponsor, would you go out and sponsor me? And they say, well, yes, of course. And I said, well, listen, 10 years ago, chances are you wouldn't have. If you'd have known the whole story, and I used to throw it at them then, this is what we were like. But I said I went along to a meeting and I saw a guy who gave us an inspiration that if he could do it, so could I. Because Roger Krauss stood up there as a Crown Direct and he said, if you go out and do this and do that, you'll succeed. And I looked at him and he was shorter than me. And I thought, if he can do that and he's shorter than me, so can I. And then the other thing is he said, I'm a turkey farmer. And I thought, if a bloody rotten turkey farmer can build this business, so can I. So what I'm trying to say to you, it's all an attitude thing. And if you look at me or you look at Penny and you look at anyone in this room and you say, I can do that, I'm telling you, you can. But you see, it's not what I believe about you. If you don't believe in you, then no one else is going to believe in you. Somebody once said, what is it? It's belief in yourself, belief in the company, belief in the product. In that order. Belief in yourself first. Because when you believe in what you're doing, everybody else, boy, I got a great idea. Put it to work and watch everybody else say, I heard today that somebody came up with a great idea and it was an inspiration and they got a rise. They also got lifted up in the business because that helped do things better. Because you're all geniuses. You haven't tapped 1% of the potential. Somebody said, what the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And so don't worry about others that are there, because I'm going to tell you success is very, very simple. It's believing that you can do it. That you can do it. You know, I used to say to my kids, they cut the word can't out of the dictionary. And I used to say to them, the only people who put can't in a dictionary were the English. Fancy them putting that in a dictionary. You know, only people like that would be silly enough to put it in there. The only dictionary in the world that's got it. I'm not knocking the English, I mean, we all came from there originally. But the interesting thing is, we cut the word can't out because you can. And I used to say, listen, if you say you can't do that once more, I'll throw you out the door. And all of a sudden, Troy one day said to me, Dad, and I said to him, Troy, you can't do that. He said, Dad, there's no such thing as can't. And I give him an applause because it was his idea of starting a car detailing business, and at 17, give him a hand, because to have his own business using Amway products. Because I tell you what, there are a lot of uneducated people out there who are working and getting a job. There are a lot of educated people who are virtually educated derelicts who can't get jobs. But just imagine what those people with educations could do if people like ourselves are doing what we're doing, if they really got to work in this Amway business. And of course, you know, in the States and Canada, doctors, bank managers, microsurgeons. I sat in the San Francisco airport and I did a little rally with 4 people there. There was a doctor, a microsurgeon, there was a lawyer, there was an orthodontist, and there was a mechanic. And they were all the same, they were all excited. The mechanic, the doctor, the microsurgeon said, I can't last for another 5 years with the terror, the tension, and the torment. He said, I've given enough of the 15 years down the road. He said, I see my people dying of heart attacks. I mean, Amway puts everything there for you. Even the company situation is there for you to move up. And as I said, don't lose sight of that, because those people are coming along to see. I could never have got a job with Amway. As an executive, never, because I didn't have that degree. But we've done pretty well on the outside, haven't we? Okay. But you see, there is room for all of us, and I congratulate all of you people. I just want to leave you with this. I have little things here and there that count. Okay. This one is important. Every time I open my wallet up, I always read this. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men and women with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education alone will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination are omnipotent. Those two words are the key to it all. Persistence and determination. And if you want to put the word determination, I call it desire to succeed in anything. And so, not just talking today about being a great success as a distributor or being a great success as an executive, but being a great success at your job or in sport or in helping your community. And all of this is important too. So if you feel you have ability and you're not using it, stand out front and show the way. Somebody once said, if you're a leader, look behind and see how many people are following you. And that'll tell you what sort of a leader you are. And so I'm proud that some people have followed Penny and myself, and we, along the way, have tried to take them where we felt was best, or teach them what we thought was the right knowledge. But we're all learning. And when anyone knows it all, somebody rewrites another book. And you have to learn that one too, because there's always knowledge in front of us. Think back 10 years to the type of equipment you have today to what you had 10 years ago. Think back 10 years ago to where you were and where you are today. Think of the next 10 years and where you're going to be. Because in this business, as a company person, you can plan where you're going to be, where most people can't. They're hanging on. It's the most terrifying time out there for people to wonder where they're going, because other people haven't planned like this company, where we're going and where you're going. Because where you go, we go. We come in after you. Interesting thing, that you're the real leader. You tell us where the potential is, and we go out and then try to supply that market with your backup in that pipeline that supply product. Because the only thing that makes Amway a success is that somebody sells the product. The bottom line in Amway is that somebody sells the service and somebody sells the product. We need both. I'd just like to leave you with the fact that success, I'd like to put it this way, as somebody once gave me this little memento, and I think it puts it right down the line, and it says, if you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win but you think you can't, it's almost certain you won't. If you think you'll lose, you're lost. For out in the world we find success begins in a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man. But sooner or late, the man who wins is the man or woman who thinks they can. And I think that's true about this business all the way. Thank you very much. It's been great being here.
I thought we were giving Peter and Penny so much by putting on this day, and of course now we're totally in their debt again, because I think that was one of the most magnificent presentations from both of you that I've ever heard, and it's certainly given me a lot of motivation, and we'd all like to give you this. We've all signed it, and there's something we would like to leave with you, and thanks very much for being our guest today. Peter and Penny.
Well, honestly, we'll really treasure this, and we'll put this in pride of place in our hallway. And, you know, if any one of you are in surface at any time and, you know, seriously, at any time you want some help or guidance or anything like that, just give us a ring, because we feel a family. And I just hope that next time you invite me back, because I'll talk twice as long.
Peter and Penny, for the rally program that will be Peter, because Penny hates getting on flights, is July the 13th at the Hordern Pavilion. And Peter, this is just a warm-up. Peter is a lot better at rally programs. So I think that'll be a good opportunity for you to go and hear Peter again.
Thank you very much.
Whose is that? Is that our stuff or yours?
That's yours. Yeah.
You want to do the one family shot all around the front of the rolls? Just one final shot?
One final, Penny. Where's Peter?
What about from over this side? You can get both cars there. Get both
Okay. Please stop.
Do you want any? Again, I'm the director.
Fiona,
Take
The RR in the centre too.
Yeah, just get so we get the RR.
Plus a little lady. A little bit. That's good. That's good.
Very good. Good. Excellent.
Great.
Success be with you.
Yeah. Sorry,
Complex. Andy Kyver's coming up. Thanks, mate. Sorry, we just didn't spend more time.
We really did enjoy it very much.
I just said we'll have an anti-climax after. Did it all happen?
I know that's Penny.
This can happen for you too.
Yeah. See you in an hour.
Bye. I get so used to getting the
Yeah.